Hey sisters and friends, welcome back to the Ella Sister podcast. Today we have Hannah with us.
Hey guys.
So you've already seen Hannah with Maya and Elizabeth. So she's back on. Hannah's like floating around in our office doing a lot of things right now, but shortly we'll just be running point over Maya's stuff while Maya is gone. So super fun to have her here with us today. Okay, we're going to just jump right in because we were talking about this on our way over, and you were like, we should talk about this, and I was like, I got it. So if you were on a desert island, trapped on a desert island, what are the two things you would bring?
Okay, so I have two things.
You can only bring two.
Okay, well, I guess our go-to answer would be the Bible, but I'm going to say it's hidden in my heart so I can have more things. And I'm going to bring like a weatherproof pillow and one of those blankets that are for emergencies. I'm a creature of comfort. I'm hoping the island has food.
You know, that's so funny you say that because mine were also going to be associated with sleep too. Because I am so particular I'm a diva when it comes to my sleep.
Oh, me too.
And mine are really similar, but I would have a sleep mask because I cannot sleep with light. Not that on a desert island there would be any light.
There'd be like the starlit sky.
That's like it. But I have to have my sleep mask on. It's probably a little bit of a comfort now too. So my sleep mask for sure. And then I would say a weighted blanket.
Oh, that's a good one.
Because I need weight on me to sleep.
My first summer at camp, I actually bought a weighted blanket on my way down in Alabama.
Really?
And I was like, this is the only way I'm getting through this summer is this weighted blanket.
Was this before or after they put air conditioning in the cabins?
I never actually stayed in a cabin with no AC.
Okay, that's good.
So I kind of feel like a fraud out at camp.
At your specific camp?
Yes.
At Camp Chioka?
At Camp Chioka.
I worked out at a camp, and we definitely had AC everywhere. I've never worked out at a camp that didn't have AC. So when I heard Camp Chioka didn't have AC, I was like, wow, that's true camp. Like, the camp I worked at was not that camp life.
Yeah. At previous camps that I've worked at before coming down to Louisiana, it was resort-style camping.
Oh, yeah.
So, I mean, jumping from there to Camp Chioka, you kind of are like in a deserted island.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it kind of can feel like it sometimes, especially with the heat. And the humidity.
The critters.
Maybe the possible lack of hot water here and there.
Power sometimes. Internet most of the time.
Bed bugs, maybe.
Deserted island. Like, if you were to list that out to someone, they'd be like, are you on a deserted island?
Or are you at camp?
Yeah. Are you at Camp Chioka?
Are you at Camp Chioka? We love Camp Chioka. Like, seriously, we love Camp Chioka.
4 summers.
Yeah, 4 summers.
Mm-hmm.
So what roles have you played at camp?
Actually, it's funny you say that because it's only been one role. And
1 role, 4 summers.
I worked in the office for 4 summers, and then I was just kind of floating around on my time off, you know? I would help out with their media, so with pictures or in the craft shed with Miss Corey and Lindsay, just whenever I would hop in wherever they needed me. So office girl plus all the other things.
What made you want to work out at camp? Because a lot of the times, like during college summers, people want to study abroad and take trips. And what made you go, I want to work out at camp?
So I was a Young Life Leader, which is a big organization across the world. And I have been a Young Life Leader, it was like 5.5 years, up till this past August. And my first year leading, I was like, I really want to go and work at one of the Young Life camps. So I was at Young Life camp for a while, for a couple summers, and did all things Young Life. So it was like 3 months away.
Wow.
And then the next summer I did the same thing. And then the previous summers I'd also been involved with Young Life and leading girls or being a camper myself. I never actually went to a summer camp, a long sleepaway camp myself, because I went to a year-round school and we only had like 5.5, 6 week summers. So you kind of fill that with traveling, seeing all your family, going on a vacation with your friends and all the things. So stepping into being at a summer camp or different summer camps throughout a summer was so different.
Yeah.
And it was different from anything my friends were doing. And I just felt like I needed to do something different, not to just prove it to myself, but also to prove it to the girls that I led. And we I'm from Charlotte, North Carolina, outside of Charlotte. And the life there is like a bubble of just you can do all the things you want, go to all the concerts, go to all the sports games. Everything you want is literally at your fingertips. And camp is just not that. Like John Luke always says, it's the real world. And it is the real world, but it's more of like a real world that we should be living in. Being unplugged and knowing and being in community and feeling actually known, because you get to know everybody if you're eating, sleeping, playing, hanging out.
Absolutely.
All the same time, all together.
Yeah. Was it hard to make that decision to like prove, maybe not prove, I know that's kind of what you said, but just to like do what felt right in your heart? Did you struggle with that to go, man, I might miss out on some things?
Mm-hmm. It's funny you were saying this because I was talking to someone in the car on my way here, and I was like, well, she was like, did you miss out on anything not choosing to go to summer camp? I was like, I missed multiple of my cousins' weddings, like friends' weddings. And I'm the youngest of my cousins, so it wasn't like I was like, everybody was just getting married at 17 and 18, but that's also not out of the norm, I guess. But
that's true.
I missed my friends' birthdays. Like all of my good friends' birthdays are in the summer. So it's a lot of like I was using Instagram and social media as like, it was almost like they were their postcards to me kind of thing. So I was definitely saying yes to camp and saying yes to like doing something in ministry sometimes is saying no to a lot of things of the world. Even though they're great things, there's an eternal factor with it all. And working at camp has always been so fulfilling. So even if I did miss my friend's wedding, I'm like, well, I know that I can be the behind the scenes and like help camp run smoothly.
That's
as
so
smooth
cool.
as it can be.
I love what you said. Like, you sometimes sacrifice the things of this world for that eternal glory, not necessarily even for you, but for the Lord. Like that eternal weight. Like you're doing things that have eternal lasting impact while still probably feeling sad that you're missing these weddings and you're missing these birthday parties. And that's such a real struggle, even if it's not related to camp. But like, how do you say yes to the things of God and no to the things of this world? And that's a huge question that a lot of people struggle with on a day-to-day. So how did you overcome that?
I think you just had to learn to make your yes, yes, and your no, no. And I think people that know me in day-to-day life is like, Hannah can't make a decision. But like one thing I do make a decision is what I do with my summers. Because I mean, going from having 5.5, 6 weeks of summer at my little charter school where we all would travel and do things together during the summer to having 3 months of no calendar, nothing for 3 months was a big transition. So I was like, I might as well fill it with stuff that is worthwhile. And I feel like with summers, a lot of people will feel like disconnected, or they're like wishing they were in college or wishing they were with their friend group from there or wherever they are. And then you're like, wait, but you can have purpose during the summer. You can live a life that's purposeful. You don't have to just sit out and tan. You can sit and tan and have purpose. I mean, you might have a farmer's tan if you're out at a camp, but you can still have purpose even when you don't have a schedule.
Yeah. I think also, just as I'm thinking here, it's like a lot of what we do is so selfish. It's so self-driven. And it's funny, you're like, you can have a tan and still like be glorifying to the Lord, but you might have a farmer's tan. Like that made me laugh so hard because I'm like, that's so true. Like you do get tan out of camp, but you're going to get that farmer's tan and you're not going to be like laying out on a lawn chair or at the pretty beach. It's like you're busting your butt. You're doing things to help campers. You're running crafts. You're like sweating like crazy and you're just doing things so differently. And I think that's such a good, in general, perspective shift to go like, okay, it's not really about me. Like summers in college, I know for me, I loved my summers in college. It's so fun, but you do miss your friends. You miss these things that you want to do and you're sacrificing. Maybe you're sacrificing by going to summer camp or going on a mission trip. You might feel like that's such a sacrifice. But at the end of the day, like you gain so much from that too.
Yes.
It's not an empty sacrifice. You're gaining something by going to camp, by going on these long-term mission trips. And I know for you, you've come back for 4 summers. So obviously you're gaining something. Obviously you're enjoying it. What would you say are the biggest things you've learned about yourself from camp? Or maybe even like something that is what makes you keep coming back, that you're drawn to this certain aspect about camp?
I think the biggest thing is it's all about the people. And like I feel like as you get to know more people, you learn a little bit more about God with and Jesus. Just like every time you have a conversation with someone, you get to meet people from all over the country. And it's funny, like on Find My Friends, if I zoom out, it's like all these people scattered around. Like sometimes they're even all around the world, but it just shows you like community is literally everywhere. And like it's so amazing to get to know so many people from all over the place that live different lives than us. And I mean, that's coming from like living in Charlotte and having like a bubble. I'm sure where you grew up was similar in Dallas, right? And like you can kind of just be around everybody that's just like you. And being at summer camp, you're getting every different personality. It's like a melting pot. Like they say Chicago's a melting pot. I think every summer camp across the country is a melting pot because you have a lot of personalities, a lot of people, and then you end up like loving all these individuals that you're like would have probably never talked to day to day, and now you're best friends and you just call them up and you're just like, hey, what's up, girl? Like it's like they're almost like your sisters. Or
that's so fun.
It's awesome.
It is so true. Like when you spend that much time with someone, you're that close in relationship, you create a bond that is like unmatched. And it's so special and it's so genuine. And that's what's so sweet about camp. Is like it's genuine because you're truly yourself. You have to get past the fluff and the people pleasing. It's like you're going to see the best parts of me and the worst parts of me. And also you're dying to yourself because you're not living for yourself and they're seeing these raw parts of you. So it creates that bond too. And I love that it's the community. It's the aspect of like being around people, loving people, being able to be your true self. And that's what keeps you coming back. It's nothing other than the community, which also speaks so much to the importance of community.
Yes.
And having good community in our lives.
I think community is so important, and like actually like wanting to genuinely get to know someone is so important because it's like there's so many instances in the Bible when Jesus is interacting with people and like calling them by their name, calling them out of where they are. And it's like you kind of do that at camp where it's like you get to know people for who they are. Small talk only lasts for so long, and then you have to get down to the nitty gritty. We call it like a crock pot or an Instapot of like friendship because you walk away after like 2 weeks and you're like, I've really only known these. I mean, even 2 weeks, the first 2 weeks of like staff training at Camp Chioka at least, it's like you walk away, you're like, these are my best friends.
Yeah.
It's similar to college, but it's different because you don't have other things to do other than be at camp.
Yeah.
And most of the time you don't have your phone, so you really have nothing else to do. But it's so fulfilling, and you just are surrounded by a community that keeps you accountable because if you're not doing your job, it's kind of obvious. And if you are doing your job, sometimes you have to be willing to be in the background and not get accolades for it.
Yeah, absolutely. Will you pray specifically for the girls and maybe guys that are listening to this that feel like that FOMO or they feel confused about their plans, whether that's like for a short-term plan or a long-term plan, and just praying for them to do what the will of God is?
Well, Lord, thank you so much for this podcast and all these girls listening and some guys that are across the country at different summer camps or just trying to figure out what they're doing for their summers this summer or next summer, Lord. I pray that they know that they step out into your purpose and that your plan is way bigger than theirs, and that even if they miss out on a birthday party or a wedding or anything, this, that, or the other, that there's an eternal weight on their decisions and what they do, Lord. I pray that you send them to where they need to be sent and that you use them, but in such a purposeful way that they just know that your hand is in it all, Lord. Just thank you for all these friends and this podcast, Lord. Amen.